Well, hello everybody. I did take a picture of all of you, I have to say. I'm not sure if I can actually publish it, because this looked very Nazi to me. And in combination with my accent, I'm not 100% sure how that's gonna go over. But I mean, what a better place to talk about this subject than in here. I mean, I've done hundreds of talks, and I think this is easily the most beautiful theater that I've ever spoken in. As I mentioned, I do this a lot. So the reason that I first thought about the subject of beauty was actually while doing exactly this, talking. In this case, it was in Lisbon, in Portugal, and I spoke at a castle, Castle St. George. As every castle in the world, it's a functional building built to shoot, cannonballs at invading armies. That's the reason it was built, and even though the purpose of this thing is clearly functionality, if you look at the castle, it's actually pretty good looking. You have a very symmetrical entrance that's clearly have been designed with a lot of love and care. Every doorknob inside the castle is filled with all sorts of medieval ornaments, and even the cannons themselves are actually pretty damn good looking. Somebody figured out what the proportion is, what kind of rings. All this stuff is completely unnecessary to kill your enemy, but considering you're gonna spend some time at your cannon waiting for the enemy, why not make it pretty? That's what they thought in the dark medieval times of Portugal. So directly from Lisbon, I went over to Memphis, Tennessee, and there I spoke at the KiKK Convention Center. And I was smoking, so I went outside and I was looking around, I was looking up, I was looking down, I was looking sideways, and I think it's a pretty fair statement that nothing in this center was designed with any aesthetics in mind. This is absolute 100% pure functionalism. Yes, it doesn't rain on you while you're listening to the speakers, but you can't say much more about the whole place. If you go inside the KiKK Convention Center, the fairly rich musical history and culture of Memphis now has been stamped into this shit ugly carpet. Figure out a couple of piano keys, some musical notes, and this kind of vomit green brown that is part of the experience in Memphis. So I think you can say that Elvis had left that building a very long time ago. And so the thought came to my mind, how did we end up here? Meaning, how did we go from the supposedly dark Middle Ages of Lisbon to the clearly much darker 1970s of the Midwest of the USA? And I would blame one single guy. One man is responsible for all of this. He's a fellow Austrian. His name is Adolf Loos, architect, designer, born in the middle of the 19th century in Vienna when historicism reigned big. So you have to imagine they built the entire massive Ringstraße, the big avenue of Vienna, within a span of about 15 years. And they did whatever they wanted. So for the state opera, they said, let's do it in Renaissance. And right next to it, the mayor's office, why not do it in Gothic? Austrian Parliament, 100 meters up the road, let's do it in Greek style. And Adolf Loos hated that. He thought that we would have to do something in Austria where it's, you know, that's of our own time, that's proper to the times, let the machine age in. And he wrote a book called Ornament and Crime, which was first a lecture, 1 hour lecture, and then a little skinny booklet. And in Ornament and Crime, he basically showed that if you are tattooed, you are in fact a criminal. And if you haven't committed any crime yet, likely only because you didn't have time to do the crime. But clearly you are a criminal. It's also criminal for all architects and designers to force the poor craftspeople to waste their time putting ornaments on the designs, because clearly they have no function. Clearly they will go out of fashion much quicker because ornaments likely will be somehow fashionable. So he said he wasn't that much against ancient ornament, but the invention of ornament, as was going on a lot in Vienna at the time, Art Deco was at its height, he thought was absolutely criminal.